few things up, sound checks, that sort of thing. He says. Okay. Right, I think we got chat working now on a screen I can see. Let me know if there's any problems with the sound, because that seems to be a frequent thing that I forget to unmute myself or all manner of things. Let's just quickly flick up here, make sure all is well. Yes. Good. So, last week I said I was going to fix a bunch of things off stream because I thought they might be a bit boring to watch. And I was, what was I doing? I was using Travis, that was it. In fact, if we go to the, maybe not the issues, maybe the, of course, yes. Cool, okay, so it's worth just catching up on a few things. So user Flanzel has been really kind and tested the website out a little bit, and they've submitted 3 different issues. One about the max digits, one about the list primes page. And it looks like they've even started to, if not completely, debug the problem. Thank you. Maybe we'll take a look at that first, straight after me catching everybody up with where we got to. Yeah, and another issue they found 16 digits. Hex numbers. Okay, cool. We'll look at each one of those. I think we'll do that on the stream today. But just to catch everyone up, first of all, about things that have happened since the last stream. So I think last stream we were looking at things like robots.txt and just adding files to it and getting through the deploy process. We were speeding the deploy up. And if we take a look at each of these, see what's changed. So previously updated the list of instructions on how to get the local development environment. Not particularly exciting, but quite necessary. So that was fun. We'll go back. What else did we do? Fixed CodeCov. Oh yeah, CodeCov wasn't working. That was an issue. That's now been solved. And moved a few items around to solve that actually. So one of the things we did, that's to do with caching actually. Yeah, so this verbose thing turned out to be quite important for getting the CodeCov to work. So just to remind everybody what CodeCov is, it's this report that you get to say what your test coverage is. And you can see here actually, excuse me, you can see here actually it was completely unable to tell what the master branch was doing in terms of CodeCov. Whereas this branch it knew it had 30% coverage, so there was that. That's fixed that. Yeah, and we had some issues with the cache size within Travis as well. So if I go to, if I click on this tick, it should take us down to here, and then, oh, does it no longer show me? Oh, I can click on one of these probably. Yeah, there we go. So if I go over to here, I can go over to Travis, and we can see build 197. Still with these erroneous Rust builds, sorry. So it would have been nice if it was stable, just stable beta and nightly. But it also includes these erroneous ones. I think we fixed that in a later thing. But yeah, what we found was that our caches were just fast. Still, 1-2 gigs. I think they were getting up to 3 or 4. That was solved because these are RM commands that we'd been using to clear down cache file or clear down build files that were no longer relevant between builds, that just kept making the cache get larger and larger. We had the directory wrong, so these weren't actually doing anything. If I go into one of these builds, I don't know, let's pick nightly for instance, and I go down and search for RM. If I click on these, we can see that it now actually removes these files rather than before. What it was doing was it was just running the command and not doing anything. So that was solved, which is good. And I'm just going to pause the stream there for 2 seconds whilst I deal with something. Let's go back soon. Right, I'm back. So just check I'm not muted. No, we're all good. Sorry, I just had to deal with a very large spider that needed putting outside, so that's been jobbed. Where were we? Okay, so the caching problem was solved, which is great. So that speeds up our builds. All because of the wrong directory being removed. And what else have we got? One second. So I added some of this. What was this? This was something to do with pip caching. Oh yeah, so I started to add caching for one of our pip commands that happens. I think that's just on the deploy. I think I got that working, so that sped things up a little more. Apparently I fixed the CloudFront deploy. What was wrong with that? Oh, this was already live, so this bit isn't actually CI, but it's the CloudFormation script that makes all of this possible. and I bumped the SSL minimum version and enabled HTTP 2 as well, actually, so we can get faster page loads. And then this one, finally, which was pretty cool. There was quite a lot that got fixed in this, but finally figured out the syntax to get the builds right. So if I go to here, we should see that we finally got rid of those erroneous Rust builds. We've just got the exact builds that we would expect, which was great. That sped things up as well, which was good. What do I want? Files changed. So yeah, the trick was to start off by naming your stage. Sorry, under your include here. So let's maximize that. Cool. So under jobs include, first of all you specify your stage, but then instead of specifying OS Linux with this extra dash, you can specify, in our case, everything was Linux, so I just moved that out of this jobs list. And then I did the same with environment as well. I moved that up here because there was no point in that being repeated 3 or 4 times throughout the file. We can just have that specified at the top. So yeah, we ran through, and essentially to list another job, you just put a dash. So and to have them all part of the same stage, you just don't specify a new stage. So eventually we get down to a new stage. Yeah, here. And again, we just specify stage deploy. No need to specify the OS, and no need to do an additional dash, which was where we're getting those extra builds from. And what was this? I think this was just code that didn't need to run. So just a slight speed up. Yeah, so that was the CodeCov stuff. We just didn't need this because CodeCov has its own separate job, which we saw. Getting lost now. Go back to here. Ooh. Just go here, I can show you. Yeah, so CodeCov has its own job, so there's no point any of these builds downloading any of the stuff for CodeCov because it doesn't matter. So that was another small speed up. So this obviously quite a lot happened off stream, so I'm just trying to catch you all up. Yep. So, I renamed the job PR CodeCov to just CodeCov because that's neater. And it doesn't just run on PR, as it turns out. It runs on deploys and a few other things and branches and all sorts. Oh yes, and I was trying to fix something to do with the just go to files change. I was trying to fix this. Sorry, I just got a very small electric shock off of my laptop. What is that about? That's not terrifying at all. I'll look into that. What was this? Oh, I had a warning from pip. So essentially, when I ran pip install, it was saying I'm trying to cache the files, but I don't seem to have access to the cache directory, or I can write them but I can't read them, or I can read them but I can't write them. I can't remember the exact error. It'll be in the log somewhere, and I needed to specify that it should use the same home directory as the current shell, whatever. I guess it's running as a Travis user, and then this sudo makes it a root level user, I guess. Anyway, that was a reasonably simple fix and hopefully enabled the pip caching to work. So there was that. Yeah, renamed to the PR thing, the PR job. And yeah, removed cargo test from I think that might have been the deploy stage. Yeah, I removed cargo test from the deploy because it's been tested 3 times in 3 other OSs at this point, so no point doing it a 4th time. And then we ended up with this. So yeah, that's significantly quicker now. Build times are much faster. There's probably more that can be done but that's where we are. So then that takes us to the issues. So then I thought it would be good for us to have a bit of a mission. Like, what is the point of this whole project? It's a massively over-engineered Primes website. Why do all of that? Why have a full-on CI/CD and all the rest of it? It's just and why do it in Rust? So I came up with this. So the point of this project is we're going to do all this in Rust, so that we end up with an entirely procedural single-page web app, written, as I said, written exclusively in Rust and compiled to WebAssembly. And already there's a bunch of stuff actually that means that statement's not quite true that we need to fix. So I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things. Some of them relate to the single page web app. So there's a bunch of text and zip downloads, which we can, I mean, there's a few here, and get them as ends, there's a few here, or quite a few here. These really shouldn't be hard-coded zip files, which is what they are at the moment. They're stored in an entirely separate directory. Stored in an entirely different bucket. And yeah, there's really no need for that. We could probably calculate the contents of those zip files on the fly, massively reducing our bandwidth and reducing our storage, because the site used to be about 1.5 meg total, and currently it's about, I don't know, 400 meg or something with all the zip files. So yeah, there's a bunch of these that I've added. However, one could argue that these are features, or they're certainly not bugs anyway. And so user Flanzel, who's been watching this stream previously and helped out, has created 3 actual bugs. So it's possible that one of them might at least relate to bug 20, or ticket 20. But let's start off with one of them. So let's start off with the first one. Oh, there we go. Right, let's have a look. So prime test handles 16 digits if you enter hex number. You enter a hex number. What does that mean? So if we go to a prime, is it this page? No link. Prime test, not list primes. That's quite obvious now that he said it. So not this one. So so prime test, this one. Prime test can't handle 16 digits if you enter hex numbers. So if I go to number cruncher, it's weird that it does that. It should render it the other way around. There's a bit of a bug there. If I go somewhere else and then back, yeah, it always renders it first. I need to figure out what's going on with that. Please type your number here. So I didn't know that this would accept hex numbers at all. Yeah, I don't think it will. So what could this possibly mean? Can't handle 16 digits. So does this mean if I add a bunch of, if I go for like 9, oh no, let's not do that. Let's do like 9. So down here, some hexadecimal numbers. Okay, it still seems to be. Oh no, I don't even need to. Don't need that tab anymore. That can go. Don't need that tab anymore. That can go. Great, those have been solved. So this is. It still seems to be working. Maybe we need to, as Flanzel says, maybe we need to go up to 16. So we're up to 8. That takes us up to 12. Takes us up to 16 decimal numbers. Still seems to be working. But they've specified we need to reach How many is that? That's 4, 8, 12, and an F1. So I think I might have gone over that. Prime test, not this price, can't handle 16 digits if you enter hex numbers. So at the moment, I'm not sure. Not sure what the problem is. Let's do a quick Google on this number. Maybe there's something magical about it. It's just come up with loads of stuff. Okay. Hex to decimal, please. Let's just go with a hex to decimal converter. Binaryhexconverter.com. All right. Can I have that value, please? Converted to that number. Let's get rid of that for the moment. That's just in our way. Put this number in. Oh, okay. That took a minute. That seems to have worked. So if I bump this to a 2. Taking a little while to load these pages, isn't it? That seems to work. And just to check, if I do a search on this page for this number, it seems to work. Can't handle 16 digits if you enter hex numbers. Okay, for the moment I'm going to say unable to, thanks for the ticket. Thank you very much for the ticket. Thanks for the bug report. Haven't been able to replicate the issue. Thanks for the bug report. I haven't been able to replicate the issue. Is there a particular URL or steps to reproduce that I can follow? Wow, look at this typing. This is questionable typing. There we go. Thanks for the bug report. I haven't been able to replicate the issue. Is there a particular URL or steps to reproduce that I can follow? And I'm going to @ you. That seems like a nice thing to do. Let's. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, genuinely, thank you. I haven't been able to replicate the issue. Is there a particular URL or steps to reproduce that I can follow? Comment. Cool. Okay. 1 second. Just gonna check something. So, just checking chat. Really don't want to miss any messages, and sometimes the thing I'm using for chat messages is there we go, all good. I noticed discrepancies actually. Sometimes if I've got the Twitch app open on, say, my phone, I've got the Stream app running on my machine. One or the other sometimes gives quite a different number of viewers, and sometimes it's bang on. Worth checking both. So, can't handle. Right, there's that one. Problem with list primes after causing page hang. If a non-integer value, let's say u, is entered here and then the page locks up. I believe this is because when there is an error, check never returns true. Okay. So is this the cruncher page? So if I enter like a u, no, it's not that. If a non-integer value, maybe this is the primes list page. So if I what is happening here? Not quite right, is it? That's rendering. Very odd. Very odd. Okay. So if I go to like the 100th, is this? I'm going to close that. We don't need that either. So let's add the letter U. Well, that seems to have errored. Panic to call unwrap on an error. Okay, that's true. So I took a shortcut in Rust, and I instead of checking for an error when I really should have done, I would have called unwrap. So that's going to be, let's see. So this is on pages, archive page, render. So pages. Yeah, okay. So there's the render function. Yep. Let's close some of this stuff down because we don't need to worry about this. Let's close all this down, actually. We don't need to worry about any of this. Okay, this is the only file we care about at the moment. So somewhere there's an unwrap. So archive primes render. Yeah, it doesn't really give us very much debug, does it? At all, in the slightest. Okay, so this is obviously production. So let's fire up. Let's fire up our local copy. Oh, I've just noticed. You know what? We should switch to the master branch. Let me just wait for this to finish its little build. Okay, let's Control C out of that. Git checkout master. Wow, we're behind by 36 commits. And now we're not. Cool. Okay, so let's run that deploy command again. And let's crack open localhost. Yes. Great. Okay, so localhost is loading. And then we want primes. We want some debug console. And we're going to search for just prime number U, which obviously isn't a number. And we get pretty much the same. Let's just check. Are we doing like a dash release? We are. Look at that. Look at that. Let's get rid of that. I reckon we might get better debug this time round. I think that reloaded all by itself. So this time it says function line 103, but I put it to U. Oh no, that might not be function line 103 actually. Whoa, okay. Function call, and then of course it's obscured all the function names. Big primes view. Okay, well let's make some. So panic. Yeah, I don't think I can pull much more debug out of that, which is a shame. What do we got going on here? Anonymous, lots of anonymous stuff. JS. Yeah, it just goes straight into not being very helpful. Okay, so we know that slug at this point, which we're expecting to be a number, is actually a string. And we know that we first use slug here, and we try to parse it, converting it to a U size. And then we immediately try and unwrap it. So in Rust, you have, I guess, two states that most things return, either an error state or an OK state. And this will definitely be returning an error state, but because we're not catching it, we're not doing anything to check, we're just running unwrap, which essentially means assume it's OK. Get rid of those OK and error states. Then this is going to error. So I guess we should probably add a check in here, really, because we've made a presumption that it's a number and it's not a number. Check. So check that slug is a numeric string. I feel like I've written some code for this. Maybe we wrote some code for this. Can't remember if I did it on or off stream. Where would that have been? Maybe it's a regex. How do I search the whole project for the word regex? So in Cruncher. Aha. So in Cruncher, I've got a function here that converts do we use it? Where do we use it? If regex is match. Yes. Okay, so we can perform this check. I feel like I'm duplicating a bit of code here as well. Maybe there's an option to take this and copy it into its own function. Okay, but let's carry on. So let regex. So this is gonna So this is just giving us some real-time errors. So the first problem it's going to say is, well, I don't know what this regex thing is. You haven't included it. But that's okay. Let's take this. Hello, chat. How are you doing? Let's take this. And put that there. So that gets rid of the first error. These aren't relevant in the slightest because we've just copied them from the other page, so they can go. Let's you dig it, do you? What do you dig? Just seen that message pop up in chat. How are you doing? So in this case, maybe we could default slug to equal something, or we could reset slug. So in this case, we could say, if it's true, if it does match, then just return slug. Otherwise, turn the number 1. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey learning Rust and web-based Rust. It's very I think undervalued, but also underdocumented. So anything to get a bit more eyes on the Rust community. and more eyes from the Rust community as well. Now I can't remember how we use a match. I want to believe that I can just set the value like that. Let's deal with these errors in order. So match arms have incompatible types. So it was expecting a structure of string, but it found a reference. So that is a string, that is a reference. So there's a couple of ways that I normally deal with this. I genuinely don't know which one's the proper way, but if you switch it to owned, then at that point the string becomes an owned string that we can then use the same way we can use this owned string up here. So that may have worked. What have we got going on here? Let. What's the problem? Expected one of the following. Okay, that's probably because I've just used this as a statement. And of course, now it's going to complain, probably saying that this isn't mutable. Okay, so cannot assign to immutable argument slug. So how do I make an argument mutable? Is this going to be as simple as that? Huh, okay, it might well be. Let's recompile. We're recompiling. And I guess we're expecting this page to reload, and anything we now type in here that's not a number should take us essentially back to the first page. I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe it should outright error saying, sorry, that's not a number. That might be better. In which case, check that slug is a numeric string, and if not, then because at the moment it's going to do all of this, and I feel like if I guess I could copy some of this. I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to do a very small return up here. I say that's not actually as simple. Not actually that simple. I could. Okay, I'm going to end up writing this out and then I'm going to modify it because I need to have a think on the best way to do this. So instead of, so I think that can go back to being immutable. If this is going to be an error, this instead of being a slug, we can create a new variable, and we can say let slug is int, which we can specify as a boolean. In which case we can go back to true and we can go back to false. Let's just hit save so that it has a chance to catch up. Hey Bethany, how's it going? And then instead of that, we can specify an if statement here. Oh no, that's not Rust syntax. That's my JavaScript or PHP or Python or something else coming through. That's fine. So we're saying if slug is not an integer, then we can return. Let's just see if this is this error. Yeah, that doesn't like that. Okay. Mismatch types. Expected nothing, but found an enum DOM type node. Okay, am I returning? What's wrong with that? You're expecting nothing, but here we return a div here. Let's have a look. If not, slug is int. Maybe that needs a comma on the end. I don't think it does. Mismatch types. Expected that, but found that. Try adding a semicolon. Yeah, I didn't really want to add a semicolon. I was hoping to just return outright. Yeah, comma needed. Turned out it wasn't a comma, unfortunately. I'm going to recompile this and see if I get a better error from the command line than I do from the IDE. I think there's a strong possibility that we might. Okay, expected. So at this point, it found basically found a HTML node. But I want to return. Why can't I return? I mean, the other thing I could do is put all of this in a giant if statement, but that does not feel like the right way to go here. Alright, okay, let's try something else. Let's just add a very small amount of debug. What if we have this? Does that error as well? Mismatch types. Expected. It expected nothing, but here it quite clearly is expecting something. So error malformed URL did you enter a number? Let's be less accusational. Was the number correctly entered? I like friendly error messages. Non-accusational error messages, please. And I think that needs to be to owned as well. We can to check that by going down here and oh no, it doesn't need to be. So that can go away. Found, expected, blah blah blah. I mean, I humbly disagree with everything that I'm reading in this error. I'm just gonna let's go super debug. I just want to see if this lets me return. So that returns. Okay, I'm just gonna get this working for now, rather than try to figure out why this is so upset. Let's get it working, get a commit in, and then improve it. So if slug is actually not an integer, then throw an error. Else, and I really don't like this, but it's gonna. I think it's gonna work if I do this. Then all of that. Hit the save button. Okay, so that doesn't actually error now. I think I'm probably somehow abusing the if statement. I think both sides of it probably need to return the same type of thing. That's my wild guess, number one. Let's compile that. Oh, thanks for the follow if I didn't say earlier. Okay, so that's compiled. Let's refresh this. Malformed page URL. Was the number correctly entered? I mean, I didn't even manage to enter something correctly there. I'll have to recompile that. But let's just do that. Let's recompile it. See if we at least get the right error message this time. Let's go to here, and that's hopefully now recompiled. Oh, have I broken the index page? Ah, that's interesting. So if I put a slash, it gets upset. Curious. That is curious, isn't it? So I wonder, am I sponsored by? No, I'm not. I just like drinking that particular fizzy drink. Why? That's not against Twitch's rules, is it? Am I not allowed to drink specific brands or something? So although technically it works if we click this button, I think it's not beyond the realms of possibility that someone might manually enter that and then get a bit confused, including me. So I suspect there's something that we can do about that. So previously let's just hack this for a second. So slug is int. Let's just say slug is always an int. So whatever we're passing through, let's try and run that, because what I want to see is what actually happens if I do put a slash normally before I made these changes. That's why I've just hard coded that to true. Oh, so it would break normally as well. Okay, so we're improving it either which way. All right, one more compile and then I think we'll commit this. Pyro, what don't you understand? Where do we need to start? Well, what are you interested in understanding? I guess we could start there. Cool, no problem. All right, I think that's committable now. We've made some strong improvements to that page, and I think we fixed the original bug report by Flanzel. If a non-integer value page locks up. So I don't know about the lockup. Problem with the list primes after causing page hang. So I'm presuming, of course, that I've got the right page. You have a hangover, and that's the primary reason. Ah, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully it was a good evening. So let's just commit these changes. And what do we want to say? What do we want to say we've done? So it's been a while since I've tried to close a commit, close an issue with a commit, but I think I can do that. I think we just put a hashtag in the commit message. So we can say now handles non-numeric characters and gracefully warns the user. Now handles non-numeric characters and gracefully warns the user. And closes this would be ticket 25. Ticket 25. Ticket 25. Yep. Yep. Okay, let's push that. Oh, hang on. Is it really going to let me push to master? Oh, shouldn't have done that. I should have opened up another pull request. Alright. Let's find out why it let me do that. It definitely shouldn't have let me. Branch protection rules. Ah, include admins. Yes. Oh no, it's going to make me enter my password. That's going to take me moments. Bear with. Just whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to put holding screen on. You'll still be able to hear me, and I'll still be able to see your messages. But I'll just say back soon, and there you go. You get to see a nice Travis page with our building, which hopefully will go green. So bear with, this will just take me a short moment. Oh, incorrect password, everybody. Attempt 2. Okay, got it right the second time. Let me just get the chat back on my phone. Can I explain the master pull request thing? Yeah. Let me do that. Let me also just switch back to sharing my screen. Welcome back, everybody. Can you guys just verify that you can now see what I'm doing? Let me know in chat. So I've now ticked the include administrators thing, and I think if I save changes, yeah, jobbed. So that will stop me from doing this master push thing. So yeah, can I explain the master pull request thing? Yes. So what we don't want is we don't want people to be able to just push their code changes from. So if someone's helping on this project, someone's contributing, like I just did, we don't want people to just take their code from their local environment and add it into whatever the main product might be. So for instance, the master branch, anything that is in there will automatically go onto our live site. So I'm fairly sure in a bit, once our Travis build is complete, so if I go to Travis, which has picked up our change, yeah, so it's picked up our change and it's deciding that it's going to deploy immediately after running CodeCov. So this unfortunately means it won't run all of the tests that it's supposed to run, which if I'd created a pull request, i.e. if I'd have committed to a different branch, not master, and then created a pull request, so if I go to one of our closed pull requests, for instance, this one, then we would see here that it was forced to, so if we look at PR15, it was forced to run tests on different versions of Rust before we get the green tick on this page. And if you don't have these green ticks, then you wouldn't be able to sort of take your code change and merge it into the master branch. So basically it's a bunch of checks that should have been enforced that weren't, and I accidentally just jumped past all of our tests, which have now prevented from happening again, but it's slightly frustrating because it might now mean that this deploy fails. The worst case scenario here is we end up breaking the website, which would be terribly upsetting, but easily fixable. So I'll remember to switch branches now. Let's create a new branch. Before I do that, am I happy with this giant if statement? I'm really not, but I think we fixed the problem. So for the moment, I think that's vaguely acceptable. Pyro, you code in PHP and React at work. Cool. That's a very, I was going to say it's an uncommon scenario, but I'm in a similar position. So did you start off with a PHP project and at some point introduced React, or what's the story behind those two being your combo? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think I'm going to leave this for the moment. Oh yeah, there's a poll. I forgot that. There is a poll. So this is the Big Primes project, and there's a couple of other things as well going on that we might, I might take a look at. So if you're interested in one or another thing, feel free to vote, and that'll steer the direction of the future videos. jQuery wasn't enough anymore. No, that's very powerful little tool, jQuery. I was really impressed with that when it first came out. Still quite impressed with it now, actually, considering it's tiny. So I think it's a reasonably small footprint, but I think perhaps I'm alone in that now. You couldn't give up on your existing views. How are you finding React? I took a look at React in a personal project, but I haven't given it the time. I've ended up spending, investing a lot more time in Rust. Have you had a look at like Vue as in VUE or one or the other? Yeah, there's a lot of jQuery plugins. That's true. With React, it's kind of more, hey, you can build anything, but you have to build it. Well, that's not true anymore. I mean, there's probably loads of things you can download for React. I just haven't really looked into it enough. So how is this build doing? Lots of scrolling. It's still going. Oh, it did run some tests. I wasn't expecting it to run any. Ah, well, good. Ran the CodeCov. Oh, of course, if this one's running CodeCov, then it needs to run the tests to be able to figure out CodeCov, or what their code coverage is. It's essentially the thing that changes the DOM for you, and you can define the view declaratively. Yes, yeah. Oh, I do like declarative programming. That's why we've pretty much stopped using SQL at work now. We've moved more towards DynamoDB and a few other things. And one of the things I really miss is just the declarative nature of SQL. I went through a phase actually of really enjoying different declarative languages. If you do anything with your infrastructure, cloud formation, that's pretty cool. I know a lot of people, again, I think there's a lot of different views on how good CloudFormation is compared to some of the other tools out there, but yeah, so Ansible I guess is one thing, but you've got a few other tools you could use, but I really recommend CloudFormation. There's a CloudFormation on this project actually. Let me grab that somewhere. It's in GitHub somewhere. Yeah, you just end up with a single YAML file, And initially it doesn't look that readable, but then if somebody sits there and pulls it apart and says, okay, well, you have input parameters, and in this case, we give it an SSL certificate, and then you've got some different resources. These don't make any sense unless you're a bit more familiar with AWS, but there's things like you want to specify a DNS record, you want to create an S3 bucket to put your uploaded files in, and this is this site, so this creates an S3 bucket. This enables the S3 bucket to be served up like a website, as does this. This gives it permissions for people to get the actual files. We've got a user that gets created, which Travis uses to talk to AWS and publish changes to the files and upload them to S3. And then at the end, whenever it runs, you get a nice output, just giving you your super secret credentials, which you give to Travis, and a bit of information on the CloudFront distribution, which sits in front of S3, which means that whenever you load up this website, pretty much you're just actually getting it from a server just down the road, probably wherever AWS's nearest place is. Oh, I stopped the local server running, didn't I? Refresh this. Okay, so I think this still hasn't deployed. So CodeCov's run, which is good. I bet we reduce the code coverage as well. If I go back to our project, where are we? Don't need that hexadecimal page anymore. Go over to our code coverage. It reckons it went up on the 27th. Yeah, it dropped 30.4 to 30.1. So really, I don't think that would have let me merge this without adding another unit test. But because I broke the rules accidentally and uploaded straight to master. Let's see how this is going. So we should see that this is doing a nice speedy deploy, but actually at 1 minute, and all it's doing is getting the cache. Still doing something with the cache. But we should see in a minute that this will run a bunch of stuff and upload a bunch of files to S3, and then the site should be updated. I think because this is the first build of the day, it just might be slightly slower, and all of our subsequent ones will be a bit quicker. But as soon as this is on production, I was going to say, as soon as this is on production, we can close that ticket. But I guess if I go back to GitHub, go over to issues, it might have already closed it. Yeah, it did. Yeah, and there's the evidence of me not using a pull request and it just being an actual code change. Bad, Craig. Wow, this really is not being particularly fast today, is it? Anyway, that's one issue down. We can start work locally on the next issue. So what have we got? Cruncher max digits is 43. Again, this was a nice nice contribution by user Flansel. He's added, or she has added, a URL as well that we can click. Okay, so essentially we're saying the Cruncher page. Oof, did that crash my browser? You know, I think that crashed the browser. Probably Cruncher max digits is 43. Let's have a look, see if we're just chewing through a processor core now. Oh no, we're not. But that has definitely crashed this. If I refresh. Okay, so if I copy this, and instead of loading it, I'm just going to take one of the 9s off. several of the 9s off, many of the 9s off. Okay, I don't know how many 9s we've got there. I guess I could search for 3 9s, see that there's 54 of those. But it's listed twice, isn't it? So 25, 26, 27 times 3, there's a lot more than 43 9s there. Get rid of some of those. $10, $20, $30, $40, $41, $42, $43. Okay, so let's ditch some 9s. Copy this so I don't get that wrong again. Okay, so 43 just works. I mean, quite clearly it's not the 4th prime number. That's a bug. But I've already got that listed as yeah, this issue here, which I only found because Flancel raised that ticket, actually. Credit where credit's due. And if let's get a couple of things going. Let's get a debug console, and then let's put a 9 here. Smell a barbecue or something. Someone nearby must be having a nice barbecue. That seemed to work. I added a 9. That worked. Ah, number 2 large to factor. Oh no, but that's been dud for a little while. Let's reread this ticket. Let's see. What are they saying? No, that's my ticket. That is their ticket. So they're saying they can't debug it. That's fine. We can help by running that locally. Cruncher max digits is 43. What makes you say that? Is that because this is a massively overpowered computer and it's happy to do more than that many? So if I add, I guess if I add a bunch of 9s. No. I think I'm going to have to say I need more info on that ticket. Sorry. So thanks user Flancel for the bug report. I wasn't able to replicate this. What occurs? And what steps lead to this? So let's head back. We were deploying. Are we still deploying? Is that still happening? Okay, it's now compiling. Still compiling. It's about 90 odd of these that it has to compile, and some will compile super quick, and some I think like this will be quite slow. But in theory, this page will show that nice error as soon as this gets to the end. Okay, so let's keep looking for another bug to fix. So maybe I need another tag. Could I add another tag that's like unable to replicate? Could add another label. What's going on here? Surprised at this. Have a look. Labels. I guess help wanted. Yeah. Let's go with that. Quite like that as a nice tag. Oh no, I've applied it to the wrong one. Didn't even spot myself doing that. Clicked on the top one and okay, don't want help. Max digits is 43. I see, that just ended up searching for tickets that were labeled as bugged. Help wanted 43. Great. Great. This was another one by user Flansel that we weren't able to replicate, so again I'm going to add help wanted. I mean, if anyone else can replicate it, great. You know, if you haven't got a GitHub account, please sign up for one and let me know if there's more info that maybe I've missed on the stream. Okay, so then that takes us to the ticket that I created, which was just on the back of Flansel's ticket, which is that this is just claiming that everything is the fourth prime number after a certain point, which is clearly very wrong. So let's have a look at that. To do that, we can create a new branch. Git branch. Pull request. No. Issue. And this is issue. See, this is what I should have done before. This is how I should have correctly created a branch for the other issue. But this is issue 27. Git branch issue 27. Git checkout issue 27. Great. So now we're working off of our local version. And this is the cruncher page, so let's get rid of primes. We don't need to worry about that. So some of this will just work, I guess, up to an infinite number of digits. Like this is checking if a number's odd just by looking at the last character. I feel like that would probably work until the end of time, or the end of your RAM. I don't know which. But one of these, maybe there'll be like a common, maybe other things will be broken and there'll be a common cause for it. So it is the fourth prime number. So let's search for the phrase prime number. Text numbers up to 11 digits in length. I think that's pretty wrong. In fact, all of these are wrong, but there's a ticket for that, I'm pretty sure. We created a ticket somewhere. Go back. Max digits are wrong, so yeah, we'll tackle that after this. Because there's some code tidying that could occur there to make the whole thing a bit nicer. Okay, so we don't want the check, we want the answer. To do hard-coded example value. Well, not anymore. But the first thing we can do is get rid of that to do. Oh, hang on. Wow, it is. It literally is. Oh dear. That was rather an important to do, wasn't it? How did I miss that? Okie dokie. So, does that mean we just never wrote a function to check this? So we've got nth root. This is where I wish I'd added comments to the top of every function to tell me what these are doing. I mean, that's obviously, that's checking for square numbers and things, checking for palindromes, checking for factorial. That lists factors of a number, probably using this. Yes. So convert tree. Oh yeah, this is when we're converting a number into a readable string. Super fun, super long, that function. And you know what, I might do this with a bit of test-driven development for a change. So as soon as we figure out what function we need to either fix or write, I'll add some tests to the bottom of this file, which we can immediately check fail, write some code, and then we can check when the code passes the test. Deanery to Romaran. Deanery to Romaran. Deanery to Roman. So that is not what we're looking for. Egyptian, not looking for that. Chinese, not looking for that. Conversion from decimal to a base, not looking for that. Babylonian conversion, nope. Deanery to just numerals. Oh, I see, that's the generic function everything probably passes through before being converted, and then is odd. Really? I never wrote a function for this. Really? I'm sure I must have done. Let's check that prime archive page. So n100 prime, so that return a vector of prime numbers. Okay, so in this case we're after 100 of them, so that's when we're loading the primes list page. Did I not add it? Did I not have any other functions on this page to do with prime number checking? No. And that's got to do in it as well, but that's to do with speed, so I think that's fine. So, okay, so there's two different pages. One of them had a hard-coded, yes, this is the fourth prime number in it, even though it's lying. And this page lists prime numbers, so I feel like we can lift some code out of here, save us from A, duplicating code, but B, writing new code. So what does this do? So loop until we have primes. So start off with, so start at nth. So I guess it starts at 1. It starts off assuming the number is prime, works out the square root of the number that it's going to try, last integer tried. So it starts at largest of the primes. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. So there's 901. That's probably 1,000 primes there. First 1,000 primes, and then if it's not in the first 1,000 primes, then it works out the hard way. Okay, so this would basically start out at last integer tried, which is the largest number in this big old primes array up here. This feels like just a horribly... I just don't really like this whole function. Feels a bit large for a start. Not that clear when you're reading it. Anyway, so we go up to the square root of the largest number we've tried, then we check if it's prime. And we do that by going through every one of the 1,000 prime numbers up here, and we check if p, so that we check if the prime number is larger than the square root, because when you're checking to see if something's prime, you only need to, if you're checking it by division, you only have to do that, or I guess multiplication up to no, division. Yeah, then we don't need to go any further than the square root. Otherwise, if it's less than the square root, then we're checking to see if it's divisible, and if it is divisible, then we know for a fact that it's not prime. So if things are still prime after doing this for the first 1,000 prime numbers, I don't like this function at all. I think I'm going to rewrite this. Write a new primality check. In fact, where is this actually doing something 100 times? There. So what if I called this, and I don't like the name of the function either, but let's fix this mess one thing at a time. So we have a function that will return 100 prime numbers, but only if we tell it to return 100 prime numbers. So I reckon we just tell it to return 1. So let's go back down to where we were seeing the word prime number. What if we're going to put this, okay, I'm just going to dump this here for a second, but I feel like this needs its own spot. So count 1, that's so where is this? This is in prime, so how do we get to this? Is it a module? I've used this trick somewhere else. You can grab the file from another. Yeah, so in this case we had a module of Mazen utils. So do I need to put it in a module? probably do. I'm going to put in a module. Okay, module module prime. Then let's take all of this whole oh, what did I do? Control Z. Control Z is your friend. I think I hit tab instead of shift. Rookie error. Okay, so we've now got a module in here, which I suspect will mean this will start complaining. It didn't. Why didn't it start complaining? I really expected it to start complaining. Ah, there we go. So now, let's just fix what we've done here by adding this module. Is that fixed? Function n100 prime is private, of course. So I think it's that public function. Should get rid of this error. Rid of the error. Let's assume it did. Okay, so now I can specify first of all that that's part of prime, but it's also, if I do a search across here for the word Mazen, it saves me having to guess this, but yeah, we should have an example in, maybe that was in Cruncher. Yeah, so at the top we specify using a crate. Here, use crate, copy, create a new one of them. So we've got 5 prime and got a module called prime. I want to save that as prime. See how that gets on. Okay, now it's probably going to say it's not in use. Yeah, it's going to say it's not in use. That's fine. So I go and find an example of where we've used Mazen. So that specifies Mazen, nth Mazen prime. Oh, of course, because we're using an as at the top, aren't we? So we can probably just use prime. So that might just work, but it's erroring because we haven't specified n. Oh, this is tricky actually. This feels like it's maybe not going to do what I want it to do. Prime, prime, prime. Yes, yeah. Yeah. You get kind of tired of saying the word prime, or probably listening to it actually. Pages archive prime, prime, prime. I wonder if we can shorten or merge these somehow. I'm gonna have a think on that because it could be. That does not matter for now actually. Let's go back to our prime. Guess we could just request a massive count. That's the other option. So to begin with, we could say first prime being 2. We just say give us 1,000, and we'll see if this number's in the first 1,000 primes. So maybe we turn this into nth prime, a function called nth prime. Function nth prime. I realise how horrendously slow this is, by the way. We'll make this better. Like Chan Chan in Go. I'm not familiar with Go. I've a couple of friends have said you know Craig, you've really got to have a look at Go. And I think I started to actually. They were trying to. There was something about it they were really excited about. Is it called streams or something like that in Go? Can't remember. There's a particular feature they were saying that was the thing they really enjoyed. What the heck am I doing? Nth prime. Okay, so this is going to need an argument. Let's take an argument. Well, variable of string num, which is going to come in as a borrowed string, and then we're going to want to save this to a variable. Let primes list and actually, what's that going to equal? That's going to be, I'm not going to be able to remember this, but this needs to be set to a type, and if I click on this, I think this will be, yeah, here we go. So we're returning a vector of numbers. It's fine. Put that here. So we've done that. Guess we probably just got 2 warnings now to say this isn't in use. Yeah. So before I go any further, because nothing's currently erroring, like horribly, let's just see how that build got on. Is it still going? So it did all the file copies up to the S3 bucket, and it reset the CloudFront cache. So if I go to the production site and refresh, then let me try like a hard refresh. Oh, there we go. Hard refresh worked. Malform page URL was the number correctly entered. And let's just check that the same thing happens with the slash. And if I get rid of the slash, that should work just fine. Let's go to a few of these. Yeah. Oof. What happened there? 0. Well, I guess that makes sense. Although that's a bug, right? I think that's a bug. I'm going to record that as a bug. So prime list page archive prime 0 is linked to from previous button, previous 100 button, and if I go back, then we've got a URL that repeats. So we can say view this page, so reproduce, much better. Then guess we want some numbers, steps to reproduce. Numero 1. Visit this page. Then we click previous 100 numbers. Pages now, and it's errored. It's gracefully errored. It's gracefully errored. What do we expect? Expected step to reproduce steps. Yes, thank you. I need a bug report for this bug report. Expected result. Guess on step 2, the URL should be correct. In fact, and what is correct in this case? So we'd probably expect it to go back to here, right? URL should be this. The link URL. Cool. It bugged you. Yeah, it would have bugged me. As soon as I hit submit, like that's it, right? It's set in stone at that point. So anything wrong with this now, I have to go on the edit button, and then people will know that I didn't get it right. Cool. Okay, so we created a ticket. Links work. No, don't say that I got reproduce wrong. Oh, I did. It's not. Let's close that. There we go. It's out of sight, out of mind. Done. Right, what were we doing? The deploy worked. We found another bug. We created a bug, and we were over here trying to fix this hard-coded fourth prime. Can't believe that was in there, but there we go. Nth prime. So we've got this prime list. So this is only going to work up to the first 1,000 prime numbers, but that's infinitely better than not working at all. And then what does this return? So this returns a vector of usize, and each of those are just going to be numbers, right? They're not going to be strings. Yeah. So I think we're gonna want to say for n in I'm about to type 0, but I am just wondering if this does something strange, like starts at 1. I don't think it does. No, it probably doesn't. Let's start at 0. For n is so for n in the range 0 to, I am reluctant to hardcode 1,000. Let's create another variable. Let max prime check. Max prime nth check. Nth check? I don't know. We can fix this. We can make this better. Let max prime nth check equal 1,000. And what does this expect? So this expects a count of usize, so we can specify that this is of type usize, and now we can say we're going to go from 0 to this variable, and we can hardcode this 1,000. I think this will uncover another bug now I think about it. I reckon this, because this n100 thing has this if tree. If n is less than 901, i.e. if you ask it to start at prime number 1, then its only ability that it has then is to list these 1,000 primes. So as soon as we go above 1,000 primes, you'll never get to this else statement, and so we probably need to call this twice, or do something a bit neater with it. I feel like this function, as I say, I don't really like that function. It's not a good function for many reasons. Many reasons which we will tackle. So, right. So for the first 1,000, we are going to want to check if basically we want to check if this number, I'm just going to write some pseudocode for a second. We essentially want to say if string num is less than is equal to n. I say n. Actually, p would be a better way, because this is going to return. No. Let's not do that. Pyro says they are heading out for some meat. Okay, cool. I'll be back if you'll be back. I mean, I'll be here. I'm only an hour and a half into the stream. No promises on how long it's going to last, but I'll probably be going for another hour or so. N is, so yeah, if string num equals n, that's just total rubbish. That doesn't make any sense. So this we want to say prime list. We want to say, yeah, if string num is equal to one of these numbers, then we want to return n plus 1. And the reason it's n plus 1 is because we've started out at 0, because that's what the array index is over here. So in theory, oh, it's errored. Let's see why that's errored. I'll go up through my command history. Let's just rebuild it. Okay, so the handy Rust compiler says there's an unexpected close. Ah, I think I've spotted the problem. We forgot to open our for loop. Okay, now what we do is be a bit lazy, and I guess the Rust compiler could just tell us each of the problems. So string num, no implementation for converting a borrowed string to a integer of type usize. Yep, that's fair enough. So we want to convert this string to something else, and I am reasonably sure we've got a function in here to do this. Just need to find it. There it is. So that converts to, oh, that converts to a big integer. I don't want to do that. That seems a bit much. Maybe we had this already in here. There was a conversion. Ah, you know where we were actually? We were in prime, and we were in the render function, and there was a conversion. Why can't I see it? My eyes are failing me. I don't think it was pass. Maybe we were using the word pass. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we can essentially copy all of this. So this would be setting a slug. Oh, that's what I've called the thing, the variable, of type usize, to equal. In this case, it would have been a string that we're passing. And by calling pass, it figures out that you're converting it to usize because that's what you've specified over here. And the pass function will return. It doesn't just return just a simple integer. It returns either an OK or an error, which you can see in this handy example. And you can deal with that in a number of different ways. And the laziest possible way of dealing with it is you call the unwrap function, which essentially says, I don't want to put an if statement in to check what this thing's returned. I don't want to do any of that. And I just want to presume that it's going to be okay and that the pass worked. How have I've lost myself in the code. How have I done this? I think we were down here. There we go. So we want to convert this number. So let's do that. I guess maybe that could be the first thing we do. So we're going to take this is string num. I think I'm going to, doesn't need to be mutable. We don't need to change it. And this is not the right variable. Now it is. Okay, why is it complaining now? Can't compare and string with usize. Well, that's still a string. Yep, good point. Good point. That should be num. Great. Just going to adjust my chair slightly. There we go. Okay. So now we're saying mismatch types expected nothing but found usize. So this is going to be because we haven't specified what we're returning, and really we should figure that out quite quickly. What do we want to return? What else? What does other stuff return? Lots of DOM elements. All of these are essentially DOM. Well, they're not essentially. They are. They're DOM elements. We return some strings. Maybe we return a string. Let's return a string. It means I've got to convert it to a string, but that's doable. Now this error should change. So let's rerun this. So now it's going to complain expected. Oh, expected nothing but found usize. Well, why did you expect nothing? Expected standard string string because of return type. Sure. Oh, I see. You can't just return in a for loop. We have to break out of it. So let return, which apparently is not okay to use. Let's go with answer then, which we can say is of type string. For the moment, I'm not going to set it to anything. If it'll let me get away with that. What we can do is we can add a break first of all. So we're going to break out of this, break 1. And this, let's just see if we can get rid of a lot of this error to begin with. Tidy this up a bit. Return the answer, that might help. Alright, that's looking a bit better. Can only break with a value inside loop or breakable block. Use break on its own without a value. Okay, so you don't need to specify 1. That's clearly something I've picked up from another language. Okay, and now we should be specifying answer, and it'll probably error to say it doesn't have a value. Yeah, it's uninitialized. Let answer string equal. I think of the tidiest way to do this. I mean, I could do. I could remember how to spell this. There we go. No, not tau owned. To owned. Okie doke. So that's saying that n+1 doesn't do anything, which is fair enough. What we could now do is say answer equals n+1, save, and that's definitely going to error. It'll complain about the two types not matching up. Yeah, mismatch because string is not an integer. So we could probably do a, that might not, that's. Oh, hey Tom, how's it going? Things are progressing well here. How's the code? Yeah, the code is good. You missed at the beginning of the stream. I've caught all the viewers up on all the different things that were fixed off stream. So our deploy speeds are sorted out, and most of the faff that we were having with Travis has been fixed. So it's looking good. This no method name pass found. Yeah, this is not how we do a conversion. Where do we must do this somewhere though. This takes a string and converts it to an integer. An integer and convert it to a string. No, we must have done this somewhere. Let's just use that. Let's have a look elsewhere in the code. How's your code, Tom? Yeah, so that's taking a string, converting it to an integer. That is the same. And the same. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting there is a poll going on. Please do vote in that poll. Okay, so that's converting. That's doing a conversion to usize as well. So it looks like I've never actually converted from rather surprisingly, from a string back to an integer. No, from an integer back to a string. Well, Google's our friend. Rust convert string to integer. Did it again. We are converting an integer to a string. Your code is food. I'm imagining you probably meant good. Your code is food. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. Yeah, I must have used toString somewhere. I think I forgot about that. Okay, what's going on here? Oh, nothing. So now cannot assign twice to an immutable variable. That is very true. It needs to be mutable. What you mean is you're eating. Oh, okay. You're consuming. I was going to make a consuming code joke, but nothing. I got nothing. Nth prime. So I think this is probably ready. So let's do nth prime, and we're going to pass in slug. Hobnobs. That sounds good. Mismatch. Expected U size. Found structure. String. Fair point. Okay, so we're actually going to. Okay. That was unexpected. I was expecting that to need something else. So we can actually undo a lot of this stuff now. So we don't need U size. So initially we can say answer equals 0. We don't need to convert it anymore. And let's hit save, and let's say as well, actually we're returning U size. You're eating a cheesy chips and kebabs. Oh, that sounds enviously delicious. Answer equals n plus 1. Unnecessary parenthesis. That's true because we're not doing any functions on it anymore. Okay, that may have worked without error. Let's find out, see if it compiles. Thank you, Stack Overflow, and in particular, who answered this question? Vladimir Matveev. Alright, let's close that. What am I looking for? This, I think. Okay, so if I click on any one of the, well, that's not good. That's not good at all. Panic to index 1001 out of range for slice of length 1000. So I can tell you that the problem there is if we're starting at 0, counting to 1000, we are actually trying to count 1001 or access 1001 different things from an array that only has 1000 things in it. So, oh, it doesn't like that. Oh, it's happy with it now. I think the parentheses make that a bit clearer. Maybe they don't. Let's recompile. Hopefully this page will reload. And we get another error. Okay, let's read this a bit more carefully. Okay, I've got an idea. Let's think this through. I did say we were going to do some TDD as well, and then I proceeded to completely forget about that. But I do feel like we could make life a little easier with some TDD. So let's add a second variable into this. So we're going to say that this max prime nth check thing, it's actually going to be an argument. And let's go down to where we've got our unit tests, which are in this config test mod test thing. And let's add a new test to the bottom. Do like my to-dos. They're endless. So we're going to create a new test, and we're going to call it, what are we going to call it? Nth prime test. And there's another to do there. Look at it. I should convert these to issues, otherwise I'm just going to forget about them. So let's go back up to our erroring. Let's go back to nth prime. So we've got a function called nth prime. And I should have known that, because that's what I called this test actually. So we want to assert that some things are the same. And it's a macro, that's why it's got that exclamation mark. Don't want it to return, so it needs a semicolon. We're going to call nth prime, and I want to know what the first prime number is, and I only want you to check 10 numbers. That's all I want. And I'm expecting you to come back with the number 2. I think that expects a string. If not, I'll use the compiler to just tell us. Okay, fine. That is maybe still erroring. We can run cargo test. Wow. Okay, let's deal with each of these. Wow, lots of errors. Expected 2 parameters. Okay, so we can tackle that one. Oh look, my little IDE gives me a little red warning. So let's just give it a 1 for the moment. See if that gets rid of all the errors. A few warnings. Using super. Unused import. Well, we can probably do something about that, but that's just a warning. Cannot find function n100 prime in this scope. Okay. In what scope? Cannot find function n100 prime in this scope. So this is in the primes file on line 145. Oh, of course, we put this into a module, didn't we? We moved this into a module. So now it's in this module. All of the tests for this function are busted. Wow, I should run tests more often. Should commit more often as well. Wow, I haven't committed yet. That's not good. Okay, so all of our tests passed except for one. Nth prime test. So that's saying that left did not equal right, left equaled 0, and right equaled 2. So if we go back to Cruncher, go all the way back down to our tests. So if we specify, if we send it the number 1, maybe we should specify the number 2. See what that comes back with. because actually the number 1's not prime. Depending on your definition of prime. Okay, let's go back up to, let's go to nth prime. So we're sending it the number 2 and the max prime nth check. So we're saying n100 prime. Starting at the number 2. You know what? I would be very interested to know just what is the first value in there. Oh, I was trying to use a shortcut there. Failed terribly. Okay, so that that might work, that might not. I feel like that may have... Okay, so that came back with 3. How is that possible? Oh, of course, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So we're basically saying, can you please start off at the first prime? Whereas before we were saying, can you please start off at the second prime? So now if I get rid of that, I get rid of that, I get rid of that, hit save. Run the tests. So now the tests have failed again. To do this test shows we have a comma prefix. Tidy if that didn't happen. Oh no, that's another issue. Okay, so we're specifying 2, which is the first prime, and we get 1 back. So that's actually right. Let's just check that works. Probably will. And let's get some more in here. Okay, that's the number 3, number 4, and the number 5. So the number 3 is prime, the number 4 is not, and the number 5 is the third prime. Let's run those. Okay. Okay, test passed, tests passed. Let's have a look, see what we've done in terms of how it changes to Git, or it changes according to Git. If I click that, what does that do? Follow link. I'm going to click it. It didn't do anything. Ah, I was hoping my ID might do something really neat there, but no. Okay, so going to here. We made some changes. So we've fixed these tests by putting in prime. And what do we do here? Same again, prime. And then up here I turned this entire thing into a module of prime. And then I'm not sure I actually fixed anything in there. So we can commit that. That feels like a good committable thing. So pages, cruncher. No, not cruncher. Archive. Prime. And our message. Well, we moved function n100 prime, which by the way is a terrible name for this function, because it's not always 100, because we can specify how many it should return. Moved function n100 prime into prime mod. That's true. Then let's just run this locally. Let's see what we get. Let's just see what the test server says. I'll just check, see how things are going. There we go. Things are going well in the world. Well, some places in the world. The number you submitted. It is the 0th prime number. I put it to you. Doesn't even say. There's nothing. Well, there's a weird bug, isn't there? That's very odd. So it's not a cube, it's not a factorial number. Then I refresh. Tells me something slightly different. I wonder if there's. That's caching. Okay, this feels like a good place to take a very short break. We'll be back in a few minutes, and then we'll figure out why this is so very wrong. Back in a moment. Hey everybody, I have returned. There we go. Tom says, did I crash? No. No, or maybe mentally I crashed, but no, the PC has remained stable. It's a good point. It's remained stable this week. What did we change? There was a background process. I can't remember. The stream will have been recorded, so it's on there somewhere. But yeah, what was that? It was something really weird, like the print spooler or something. Oh, no, that was it. It was the simple network protocol thing. SNPT, SNTP, one of them. Forget the acronym. But it was just constantly appearing in my crash logs just before the crash. So I disabled that, disabled the whole service. It hasn't crashed since. So far, the evidence is pointing towards something dodgy going on with my network protocols. Yeah, SNMP, that was it. Simple Network Management Protocol. Yeah. Maybe I've been hacked and I didn't realize it. Anyway, this is very much broken and we were just fixing it. So it is clearly not the 0th prime number. That is not the problem. Or rather, that is not the answer. It is the 0th prime number. Okay, let's close some stuff. How can that be coming back with a 0? Sorry, I'm just looking at that again. Get rid of this to do for a start. It is the nth prime. If I go up to nth prime, oh, you know why that's definitely wrong, because of the 1, right? Nth prime to check, because we've changed that to be. Oh, that's tricky. If I put this to 1,000, this will work, but it's a bodge. If I put it to 50, this will work, but it's a horrible bodge. Let's recompile just to prove to us that this actually loads. With it saying, I guess that'd be the 3rd prime number, 235, 3rd. Okay, so that's the 3rd prime number. And if I go to 3, that should say it's the 2nd prime number. And if I go to 4, that should say it's not a prime number. It's the 0th prime number. That is just so ineffective. Okay, so I guess that's a thing in itself. We could put an if statement in here, but then if I put an if statement in here, that's going to end up running it twice. I think this needs to come out entirely. Let's move this out. So we're saying this is going to need HTML. Let's create a new function, right? HTML nth prime. We're going to give that the slug, the number that we're checking, and then we're going to take all of this. This goes with us. HTML nth prime. We might as well put that next to the nth prime. HTML. So function HTML nth prime, and let's put that in here. So we've got ourselves a nice function, and we can borrow copying and pasting. I mean, is that borrowing? That's borrowing. We can see up here we've got this returning some DOM elements, some actual HTML. So let's just do the same thing here, and we can get rid of this issue. So, oh, that's the other thing. So we're also returning. Sorry, we're also passing in this string. So, I feel like calling it slug because that is what it is, but I guess it's a number that's a string. HTML nth prime. So this is going to need to be an if statement for one. If all is well, then we can return this. And if all is not well, then we can return something else. So in this case, of course, yeah, span would make sense. Put a span in there. Otherwise what? Otherwise it's not a prime number, right? So it is not a prime number. Full stop. So then we need to work out what goes in this if. So we're calling this here. So this feels like it has something to do with the if. If I don't know, let nth prime result equal a call to this, and then if 0 does not equal this, I feel like that doesn't read very well. If this is larger than 0, that feels like it reads a bit better. And this isn't the slug, this is the string num. Great. Alright, maybe isn't erroring anymore. Let's see if that compiles. Nope. Nope, it doesn't. No rules expected this token in a macro call. What? Oh, I missed a comma. Well, normally Rust is pretty good at saying this thing before is where your problems are. Didn't catch it this time. Let's compile that. Looking good. Maybe this page will refresh. Maybe that'll say it's not a prime number. It is not a prime number. Okay, that's an improvement. And then if I go to 5, third prime number, if I refresh it, still thinks it's the third prime number. Great. So that's working. Okay, how can we test this to destruction? Let's test this to let's pick a really big number that we would presume is going to return 0. And then we can run our unit tests. Our Rust cargo test is the way to do this in Rust. Cargo does all of the cool stuff. What's going on here? Nth prime test failed. How did it fail? That's kind of what we expected. I didn't really think that would run the first time. Panicked at called result unwrap on an error. I remember what I mentioned. I mentioned earlier about like loads of things in Rust will return like an OK or error result, and then you can choose what to do with that. Normally with an if statement or a match statement. In our case, I was super lazy and just called unwrap. Pass integer error. It's an overflow. Run with environment variable to display a backtrace. Thought I did run it with that. Where's my backtrace? No backtrace for us. That's curious actually, now I think about it. That says run with backtrace equals 1. But we have done that. Maybe it needs that to be... This is a complete guess. I really don't see why it would need this. No, I don't think that would need to be the beginning. Why would it not see that? Let's just have a quick Google on that. Backtrace. Oh, there's an external crate called backtrace. Not what I was after. A library for acquiring. I mean, I thought this was just part of Rust. I didn't realize it was an external crate. How do I run cargo test? Using command, it's set for using PowerShell. Just a regular. Has this person specified they're on Windows? Yeah, okay, fine. Well, let's go back to running cargo test. Have I just crashed out? Something's going on here. I'm not sure what. It won't let me. Oh, it's running some kind of execute thing. What's that about? Control C, Control C. There we go. Let's run cargo test specifying backtrace equals 1. Alrighty, that's come back with all sorts of interesting things. So, nth prime test panicked, calling result unwrap. Result unwrap on Cruncher line 610. Couldn't be any clearer, could it? Have a look. Cruncher 610. Let num usize equal string num pass unwrap. I mean, that's fair enough, actually. I guess in this case, this is essentially saying your number's bigger than 64-bit, and therefore this is not going to work. So we could test for that. We could test. Number is larger than 64 bits capacity. Then return. Just return 0. So if that's a good question, actually. How do you check to see if something is going to overflow before it overflows? That's a very good question. Rust. Check if variable fits in 64 bits. This feels like a terrible Google search. Let's see what we come back with. Of course, we could actually run an if statement on this. So what we should do is, instead of an if, we should run a match. And then this is string this. So we don't run the unwrap part because we're gonna do the full verbose version of this instead of the unwrap. So if string num pass returns, I think I would expect this to be an error. Okay. They've specified pass. I guess we could specify to usize as well, because that's actually where we're trying to get to. Then we could say, yeah, that's not going to work. Found Boolean. That I don't care for, actually. Let's just say true. So let's check bits in 64 bits equal this. Check does not have a J in it. And I did it again. There we go. So no method named to usize found for type string in the current scope. Alright, that is true. That is very true. So instead of usize, let's pass, but we're going to specify that we're aiming for usize chained comparison operators. I think this is saying, nice attempt, Craig, but your syntax isn't quite right. And now I think I've got an issue. My main issue here is that I'm using parse in a terrible way. Rust parse usize. Oh, that's exactly what I need. Well, that was pretty close. I think I take that, put it before the function call, or before the arguments. Okay. So instead of sum, this is probably going to expect OK and error. Yeah, so it's expecting a result. So if this comes back with OK, then great. Otherwise, if it comes back with an error, I think that will then complain that it's not error with an argument. Error E. Okay, so yeah, so if it fits into 64 bits, then all is well. And if not, then we should probably return. So if checks in 64 bits, check fits in 64 bits, then more specifically, actually, if it's not true, then we can just return the answer immediately. Do that. Answer. Save. Hopefully that'll compile. Nope. What's wrong with the if statement? Oh wait, you know what? There we go. I was using it as a construct and actually it's now a statement. So that match should now... Okay, so what's wrong with this? Expected nothing and found usize. That probably means not one of these large if statements. Okay, that might have actually run this time round. So let's run cargo test, see if that passes. Consider using a prefix. Yeah, because we don't care for these. We don't do anything with these variables. So in Rust, you just put an underscore and then it says, okay, I know that you've had to put a variable here and I know that you didn't do anything with it. So you have an underscore. It doesn't warn you every time that you're not using it. Error finalizing incremental compilation. Well, okay. Permission denied. Well, that looks like it's a bug I don't have to worry about. Might just be a WSL bug in Ubuntu. Not in Ubuntu, but in Windows itself. That seems to be okay now. So what are we doing? We've pretty much got that working now with some... Let's go back. Where are we? Okay, so this HTML Enterprime thing will work, but it'll only work with this silly hard-coded 50. If we head back to here, max prime nth check usize. If number is larger than 64 bits capacity, then return 0. Yep. What am I doing? Wow. Okay. Brain's tired, it appears. I keep forgetting what I'm actually doing. So we were looking at this nth prime, and I think it had something to do with this nth check. Yes, okay, so we were passing that in, and I think we were saying that this is only going to work up to a certain point. So, is this a good point to save what we've done? Okay, let's save what we've done. Get status, yep, fine. Get commit, yep. So perhaps it's a good idea. Let's do a git commit partial. Actually, I just want to see. So stage this hunk. I love that ridiculous name. Stage this hunk. Yeah, fine. So yeah, we need that. Yeah, we need that. Yep, that's needed too. Yep, we added a test. Maybe we don't. I could have that as a separate commit. Okay, so added. So fixed. Nth prime. Yeah, fixed nth prime being hard coded to always return 4. That's not strictly speaking untrue. We did that. That happened. And now let's stage the tests. So added nth prime unit tests. Yeah, we added some tests. Everyone's happy. Let's push that up. No harm in pushing that up. Ah, this is the first time we're pushing our changes for this branch. Fine, fine, fine. Let's do that. Good stuff. Okay, so we know that this is going to break though. We know it's only going to work for a little while. If I refresh, actually if I recompile, let's do that. Give that a moment just to run. Did that run? Not sure that refreshed my page. Okie dokie. Oh, did you see that? I refreshed it once and it errored. I hard refreshed and that error went away. That's peculiar. On the subject of peculiar. Oh, hang on. This is the live site. That's really odd. Why did it error? Maybe we're going to have problems with caching on the live site. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that one. That's worrying. Refresh this. Let's get rid of that live site as well because that's going to confuse me really badly. That is, let's just have the test one up. Okay, what's this? This is from earlier as well, isn't it? Oh yeah, so this ran a bunch of stuff. Oh, that was a deploy. Okay, so we've probably got a branch that's building at the moment. Yeah, so we've got this active branch. We'll just keep an eye on that. That should pass. It should run its tests against stable, nightly and beta, and hopefully that'll all work. We're obviously trying to nail this problem. If I refresh this, it doesn't now say. Wow, what's going on? Okay. Okay, so 5 is the third. 6th should say it's not a prime number. 7 should say it's the 4th. I'm not going to do this forever. I just want to go up to 9 and then I'll jump. Not a prime number. Fine. 11. Fine. Okay, let's jump to like 57. Still not a prime. Good. 129, 131, 32nd prime number. So we hard coded this to do up to the 50th prime number. So if I go to the primes page and then I go to the 51st and I refresh the 51st, it says it's not a prime number, which is totally wrong. So I feel like we should probably have a prime check. We should also then fix this to say we can only check up as far as this number. Where is that? So this is the test. It's going to be up a bit. It's going to be up a bit. It's going to be here. Not going to be there. There it is. If numerics to text, blah blah blah. No. HTML enter prime. Yes. So maybe we can add a constant to this page. What's a Rust constant look like? I'm not sure if I've used one. Rust constant. Alright. Fair enough. They're declared way up there, outside of all scopes. Okay. I go to the top of this page, specify some constants. Threshold. So we can say max len prime check. And at the moment we can say that this works for, might as well keep it as a U size. This works for all prime numbers, well, all 2-digit prime numbers. Max len prime check. I've lost it. Where is it? Here? Here. HTML nth prime. So HTML nth prime. So we can probably do a check here. And we can say if max len prime check is greater than, well no, is less than, I guess string num, why have I done an uppercase S? That's just no help at all. Greater than string num dot len, then I guess we can probably just say nothing at all. I mean, we could say it is too large to check primality. Hit save on that. And of course this is then going to complain saying you haven't specified an else statement. I think that's basically what it's saying. Alright. Got an if within an if, it's not too bad. Bit of nesting. So yeah, there's that. What else do we need? Feel like that number is now a bit more relevant somewhere else. Yeah, this max len prime check. Yeah, this is definitely going to be relevant somewhere else. Somewhere we have that big form that we fill in, don't we, on the Cruncher page. We've got ditch this constants thing. Number cruncher. We got this. Is it odd or even? Is it palindromic? Yeah, so this. Is it a prime number? Checks numbers up to 11 digits in length. Well, that's going to take a small nosedive. 11 digits. There we go. What did I just do? That was not intentional. So that's good. If I save that, that's going to error, isn't it? Yeah. So we've got a number. We just want to convert it to a string. Great. So let's go and recompile. Whilst it's doing that, there we go. Hopefully this will refresh. Checks numbers up to 2 digits in length. Okay, well at least it's not lying now, because it was definitely false before. I feel like that's something that we could commit. If I do a 1, 2, 3 and hit crunch, it is too large to check primality. Whereas 12, it is not a prime number. I feel like that primality thing is largely untrue as well. It might be too large to tell you that it's the 4th or the 5th or the 5 billionth prime number, but sometimes you know, like it's an odd number. So in this case, we don't know. But you could, without doing a primality check, I mean, but you could if it ended in a 2 or a 4 or a 6, 8 or a 0. You could say, well, it's definitely not prime. I don't even need to perform any maths on that. I can just check the last digit. Let's commit some stuff. So what have we got? Get status, just the one change. I'm gonna get diff as well now. So we added a constant. This all relates to adding a constant, I think, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. So let's commit this. Let's commit this. Added constant for primality or max digits to check for primality. Save. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I feel like something strange happened there. Did I accidentally change like the file name? I feel like I did something wrong. I don't know what it was. Let's commit again. Added constant to fix. Could say added constant in all caps, couldn't we? Added constant to fix. And which constant? I guess we could add that as well. Anything wrong with that? To fix incorrect statement about max digits. I feel like the commit now is a terrible commit. What framework do you use for web development? So in this, we're using the Seed framework. That's what gives us these nice Rust macros. I don't know. I don't know what level of Rust experience you've got, but I'm very happy to point you in the direction that that you've asked. Let's have a look here. So this person, David O'Connor, created this Seed framework, and that's what we're using. So by using this, we get to compile Rust to we get to compile Rust to WebAssembly, and yeah, we get to use neat little things like these HTML macros, support CSS styling, etc. Pretty neat. I've been really impressed with it. Yeah, I highly recommend it. And then yeah, if we were to refresh, say we can stop preserving that log. Wow, that's been preserving that log for some time. If I was to refresh this page, Oh, actually, let me get my test version back up. Added constant max len prime checked to fix incorrect statement about max digits. We check for primality. Hang on, I've got one other thing to show you. I just wanted to save this, then get that test server back up. Get rid of that. Yeah, get the local server back up. 1 second. So if I refresh this, there we go. So yeah, I don't know what you've used for Rust before. Just want to your username's quite small, but I want to check I'm getting it right. Yeah, I think it says Gabby Loop. So the move this cable. Okay. The neat thing about this WebAssembly framework is I can't find it now. Yeah, the entire site ends up just as a single single download, which is probably, oh, these are all cached. Okay, so it's hard to refresh that. What role is Rust playing or will play in web development? So that's a very good question. Let me just think on that for a second. So yeah, this is the WebAssembly file. That's the entire site compiled to a single 1.3 meg, and then whenever we go to different pages, there's no additional loading except for some images that I need to get those out and into Rust. What role is Rust playing or will play in web development? So I had a moment to think on that. So at the moment, I think globally, very, very, very low, 0.000 whatever percent. I think it's in the alpha stages really. But it's pretty neat that you can now use frameworks such as the Seed framework in Rust to write structured HTML, to have it all compiled to JavaScript, which is what this is doing. And yeah, for some use cases, it's pretty neat. In this case, this website gets 10-20,000 visitors a month. It's quite low usage, but now and the many of those users will tend to click on it quite a lot, definitely revisit many times in the month because they're using it for something, probably schoolwork, college work, uni work, whatever. And so now with this being a 1.3 meg single page download, it's reduced the AWS bills quite a bit. They were only like pennies or pounds before, it wasn't much, but they're definitely in the pennies now and staying there. And all the in this case as well, all the processing done on the client side has saved me on wow, mental block, what's it called, Lambda, on Lambda costs as well, because previously this was using PHP and AWS Lambda. So it was really neat using serverless, and that in turn did keep the bills down, but still higher than doing it in Rust. So this use case is pretty neat. You don't like the trend of WASM to make website code closed source. All right. I would say whether something is open or closed source is a licensing thing. But I get what you're saying. You have code that's running on your machine that you can't necessarily look at, right? You like the openness of JavaScript and CSS. Well, you say that, but what's I'm not disagreeing, by the way. I just want to understand where you're coming from with that question. So are you taking the angle that you prefer to be able to see what code is running on your machine when someone else's website is loaded in your browser, or are you taking the angle that you want to go in and borrow some code? That one. Yeah, I agree. I agree that it's nice to be able to see what code is running on your machine. That's very true. And yeah, the whole WebAssembly thing, I guess, makes it a lot more difficult to see what's running. To be fair, I mean, if they obscure their JavaScript, you run into the same problem. And a lot of like if people write in React, etc., and then they compile stuff to I'm trying to think what it is you use. I think it's Babel, isn't it, or something like that. You end up with code that's a lot less readable anyway. But you can at least inspect it. I completely get your point. If it's WebAssembly, you just at the moment you haven't really got any chance of figuring out what it does. In case in point, actually, someone created a ticket. I'll show you. Case in point. So user Flansel was very nice and created some bugs that they'd found, but they weren't able to debug them. They'd started on one of them. The issue 25. Yeah, so they started to look at the JavaScript where they could see the problem, but ultimately it's quite difficult to view it. But it does compile. I guess maybe that would be a thing. Maybe in the future there'll be a way to have kind of like a more open, viewable WebAssembly. I just can't think how on earth that would work, but I can see that being a nice thing. I mean, in this case, you get the source code, but yeah, I see your point. Did I miss anything on chat? Just want to check. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sorry, I'm still thinking about this WebAssembly thing and the fact that it's not open anymore. I guess that's true, but what about all of the software that you're running on your machine at the moment as well? Like VS Code, I guess it's open source, so I know that I can go to GitHub and I can see the VS Code source code. And I'm running Chrome. I don't think that's definitely not entirely open source. So there's going to be some stuff in there that I guess I'm trusting. And I guess as a Windows user as well, the whole argument for me goes out the window. But that's I'd love to convert entirely to Linux. I've done it a couple of times, but probably been about 7 or 8 years since I've tried. I'm sure it's come a long way. I should try that again, really. Maybe that'll be a weekend project sometime. Anyway, if you got any more questions on that or anything else you want to chat on, that's quite an interesting subject. Give us a shout. Yeah, have I missed anything else in chat? So Gabby Loop, did I answer your question on the seed framework? I think I did. You said which framework are we using with Rust? Seed is the answer, and the cargo file in here. This is all the stuff you need. So these are the dependencies. Probably don't actually need these three. I think you just need those two. These three are just ones that I'm using specifically for this project. And yep, okay, I think that's all questions answered. Cheers, chat. Interesting few minutes. Interesting enough that I've forgotten what we're doing. That's good. That's very good. Clearly I was clicking around. Let's go back until something makes sense. Why was I on these pages? Yes, we had an error, didn't we? Or did we? Oh, I think I solved that. Console. Hard refresh. What was it? I think it was... No, what was the issue? I think I was just testing this. It's too large to check primality. Control C. We committed everything. That was it. I had an issue with committing that last change. Git push. Thanks. I missed that. Sorry, someone's just followed me. Thank you very much for doing that. Refresh. Why am I refreshing that? That's not going to make any difference. We had this build going. Probably should open a pull request because I feel like we've solved this problem. Don't so user, I think that is user Cybeach. Don't see any problem in that. You are protected from any malicious behavior by the browser and its restrictions in interactions with the operating system. So correct me if I'm wrong, I'm imagining you're essentially saying you don't worry from a security point of view about WebAssembly because the browser protects you by kind of sandboxing the environment that WebAssembly is running in. Yeah, that's a good point. So then I guess it's important that you run an open source browser if you want to be able to inspect all code that's running on your machine. Let's run a pull request. We got this active branch. In fact, how is that still building? Oh, it's not. Okay, so that built 247 ran. Let's get a. Say it ran. What the heck did that run? It didn't run a series of jobs. It just ran one. I pulled a load of code. Ran all the tests. Great, 15 tests. Then it decided to run 0 tests. That is very curious. I've never spotted that before. Make a mental note, come back to that for sure. Then it runs CodeCov. Then it removes the cache. Okay, cool. So that's just running CodeCov. Great. So yeah, let's go back to GitHub, and I think it is time we considered opening a pull request for this. Issue 27, yeah, compare. Let's just create that for now. So, oh wow. See, this is the problem with having numbers hard coded in a vector like that. You add one tab. That's all I did to that line. I added one tab because it's now in a module instead of a function. And then you end up with this huge number of change. That looks good. Yeah, we moved M100 primes into a module called prime. And we added a test. They're important. And now I think about it, if I go back to issues, I think this is relevant to several issues. This is going to be relevant to issue 27 because that's kind of clues in the branch name of that one. Somewhere I thought, yeah, max digits are wrong on the cruncher tool, so we fixed one of those. So let's mention that. So that's 20, and it might be relevant to this one as well, you know. I'll wait to see if user Flanzel comes up with some additional info on these two bugs. Yeah, so that's number 27. I go to pull requests, and I can see your chat. I'm just going to finish this line of thought, and then I'll read through your responses. 2 seconds. Yeah, let's go to pull request. Go to issue 27, and I just want to mention this is relevant to number 25 and number 27. I will find the hash. There we go. 27. I wonder if that then doesn't. Maybe I had to add a new comment for that to go. Because if I go to issue 27. Okay, it does. It worked. I can see those two are linked. Okay, just catching up with chat. Security concerns should be alright, but it's significantly harder to figure out where your data is sent to. You cannot debug or modify it. Don't know much about WASM behavior though. Well, you should still be able to see where your data's going. So I can't really give you a good example of that because this is a single page web app. It doesn't make any additional calls. But you've got the network tab, so you can still see what's going on. So if it throws some call to some dodgy url.com or whatever it is, seemingly with some weird post data in it, yeah, you've still got that. Oh, I was just got up with your messages. Yes, you can intercept the network behavior as normal. Yeah, so that's one thing that doesn't go away with this. But yeah, your original point's still there. You can't actually get any sense out of the WebAssembly code itself. Right, let's see what is going on with our build. So we've got. If I go to pull requests. Got our 29th pull request. So quite neat now that we don't have the empty Rust build here. We don't have an empty Rust job here. CodeCov doesn't have some strange name. It is just CodeCov or code coverage. And these should be reasonably quick. 4 or 5 minutes, I'm hoping. I guess we could check on stable, see how far through it is. It's downloaded a bunch of stuff. It's compiled a bunch of stuff. Yeah, maybe another couple of minutes on that one. Then we should see our orange ticks go green. In fact, yeah, I think we're in pretty good. Yeah, it's very likely that this will pass first time. One thing I will say actually is WebAssembly is super fast. Couple of, I mean, this is not a very scientific check, but basically everyone's claiming it's faster. I bet with a bit of digging it's probably fast for some things and slow for others. Can't imagine why it would be fast for everything straight out the box. I can't believe they got it all right. Maybe they did, who knows. Click on details. Oh, I see, that just takes me through to the build. Well, I've already got that open, so I don't need to worry about that. Let's have a look, see how stable's getting on. Still compiling. I was just having a think, is this a good enough pull request? I think it is. Description's terrible, so we should fix that. Let's have a look at the commits. There's 4 commits in here. What if can I be super lazy? Can I just move these down here? Have a look at our commit messages. That's true. So we can say, yeah, this fixes the nth prime check, although it only works for 2 digits currently. I feel like that's good enough. When we say the nth prime check, can we build on that? Probably link to a specific page. That'd be a better way of dealing with this. So still compiling. I feel like it's done less compiling. Maybe it's compiled stuff twice. Okay, so yeah, it did the WASM compile. Sorry, the WASM pack build. Now it's going and just compiling the actual branch. Anything else? What's that's doing its thing? What else can we do? Is there something else to tackle? Let's go back to issues. No, I really want to tackle some of these, but we've got to tackle the bugs first. Good software development to tackle your bugs first. So these two, I don't know how to fix them, or rather I'm not 100% sure what the issue is, so hopefully user Flanzel will let us know. And this one will be fixed. Guess we could tackle this one next. Be issue 28. I think that's just going to be a case. I'm not going to make any changes on this page, but I think if I find previous. Whoa, what did I do? Is it if I select something? I keep doing this accidentally. It's like double pasting stuff. I'm not quite sure how I'm doing it in this editor. Anyway, so we got our previous link. So where's the href? Class is link. Href equals href previous. Ah, which is straight above. Oh yeah, and we add a slash to the end. So we should probably check that slug int minus numbers per page is greater than 0. I think that's all we need to do. And then we put an if statement around this, one of which can have the corrected URL. That would just be, I guess it would just be that. I think that will fix that other ticket. So that's good. How is this build doing? Oh, we got a green. We got a green on the push. Great. Need a green on. Well, if we got a green on the push, then I would expect that to have gone green. Refresh. Okay. Oh no, hang on. No, that would be in the branch. Cool. Well, it looks like we've got some knowledgeable people in the chat. I guess do you all use Rust? If not, you know, in your day-to-day codings, what's your language and frameworks of choice? This is still compiling. Wow. Someone earlier mentioned PHP and React. Let me just scroll back through the chat, see who that was. I think that was Pyro240. Oh, I'm just balancing something. There we go. Can consider that balanced. Okay, so that's done compiling. That will have then created our WASM package, which it's done. And I'd expect this. Ooh. Oh, it got a lot shorter. Okay, so now it's going to run some cargo checks, cargo tests, and then we should get a green tick. Yeah, chat. What do you use? Someone earlier mentioned PHP and React. It's an interesting combo, but I guess not atypical. A lot of people would have had PHP-based systems that they've, I guess, needed to bolster the front end on them. In their case earlier, they were using jQuery. Maybe that's fairly typical as well, going from jQuery to React. You know what? These build times, they're not any quicker. I don't feel any quicker. Yeah, why is this taking 12 minutes? I feel like sometimes they just take a lot longer for no good reason. Go back to these caches, see if we can blame them somehow. No, they're not at too silly a size. I mean, they are quite large. Thanks for, what was that? Was that a follow? I think that was a follow. You're JS only. Honestly, Rust is good. I'd recommend. Might get some hate for this, but I'd definitely recommend it over C or C++. The compiler is just so informative. You know, when something doesn't work or you've done something incorrectly that the language doesn't want you to do, it's really good at telling you, hey, you know, here's the problem, here's the line, and you know, this is probably, it gives you good examples of code that could fix it, which is pretty neat. In some cases I've even had it recommend refactors. So, oh, you've got these 3 lines that are trying to do this thing, but you can achieve this in 1 line with less faff, and it gives you the working example right there. And it's not like it's a cut and paste example either. It's literally your variables, your function calls in place. It's just been pretty, you know, it's quite nice. And it comes with a testing, you know, it comes with cargo test as well. So it's not like so you said you were from a JS background, so I can try and remember the name of the unit testing, jest in JavaScript. So it's not like you have to pull in another framework or, you know, another dependency. With Rust you can just out of the box you can run your tests. Wow, this is crazy. 14 minutes. I mean, this looks like it's nearly there. Removed a bunch of stuff from the cache. Now it's uploading to the cache. Okay, so that's pretty much there. So I'd expect, there we go. So one of them's gone green. For these 2, I'd expect to go green pretty quick. Curiously, stable and beta normally win. It's interesting that Nightly's won on this particular occasion. So, you know, when you say you're JavaScript only, what kind of JavaScript? Like vanilla JavaScript, server-side JavaScript, front-end JavaScript? You've got Vue, you've got React as well. See if this is nearly done. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. So that's cleared the cache. Oh, I've just seen your message. You got to go offline. All right, no worries. Good chatting. So these should go green any second. Then we get this code cov, which should be pretty quick because that's not going to do like a huge amount. And hopefully it should be able to use the cache from Nightly if we're lucky. In fact, it definitely should use that. So I'd expect this to maybe take 4 minutes. It's my guess, 4 minutes. Click on that. What's that do? Jobs queued. Booting a virtual machine. I can't believe they have to boot virtual machines. Surely they're using they must be using containers behind the scenes. Maybe they've just never updated the wording on their front end to say container. Yeah, so this is the bit that I think is gonna speed things up. So this is gonna pull down a cache file. But yeah, 20 minutes. 20 minutes waiting for a feature. That's just, we don't want any more of that. All I want to do is be able to hit this merge button in good conscience. Then we can move on to our other issue. I guess I could, I mean, at the very least, right, I could, let's check out the master branch. And I can line up this change. So we were essentially saying just a moment ago that to get rid of, I'll just show you the error again. So if I go to this page, I go forward and then I go back. So the problem is this 0 just shouldn't happen. Just don't need it. Don't need the slash either. It should just take us to here. So this. So we're gonna need 2 of these. If slug integer minus numbers of page is greater than 0, then all's well. Use the code that you expect to use. Else, don't. Get our tabbing sorted out. There we go. Else don't. You know, just do that. I think that's what it. The one that works. I know we don't even need that. It's just that's slash prime. Yeah. Oh no, so that one's fine. So it's this one. This one we just get rid of that. So if slug integer minus numbers per page is greater than 0, then you're all good. Otherwise, we're essentially hard coding this particular page as the one we want to go to. If we tackle that in another if statement here. Previous link. So in this case, if slug integer is less than or equal to 1, then didn't have a previous. It's less than 25. Why 25? That's curious. I mean, this one makes sense. So this is saying if we're on the first page, if we are on the first primes page, then don't show a link, right? Don't show a previous link. That makes sense.